Cape Cod is dangerous. Let's talk about where the safest places are on Cape Cod, the most dangerous places on Cape Cod, and everything else in between. I'm going to bring you over to a little crime map. This is going to be a short video, but I'm going to go through Barnstable County, which is Cape Cod. We're not going to touch the islands, but I'm also going to explain a few things why they might look the way they do. So here we go. This is actually a crime map that is an interactive crime map through crimegrade.org. And you can see, oh my God, I have it on violent crimes because that's what most people are worried about. Look at all that red. It is unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe that the most affluent areas of Cape Cod have the most violent crimes in them. That is unbelievable. But I want to kind of explain some certain things. Number one, this over here, that's actually an Air Force base. The public doesn't go in there, so that's kind of a void area. So just remember that. But you also have to remember, 90% of these crimes actually happen during the summer season. The summer on Cape Cod, the population doubles. We go from roughly 230, 250 full-time residents in all of Barnstable County, all the way up to roughly 500. And with those come a lot of people having some very good fun on their vacation. So I just wanted to kind of point this out, that a lot of these crimes that you see here are going to be in the summer months. Cape Cod in the off season is certainly a quiet place. There are crimes. There's nowhere that's perfect, but I'm going to go over a few of these. So this area here is Hyannisport. This is a real central area where there's tons of business and tons of hotels and that type of thing. There's also a ton of bars. There's also a ton of stuff going on. So with bars comes fights and all that stuff. So you got to remember this here, even though it's vacation land, it's very beautiful. That's probably why this area does have a lot of violent crimes. Now, provided, you got to remember, this is a statewide index. Barnstable County is still quite a bit under the state average. Out here, this is one of the most expensive parts of Chatham. It is also one of the most affluent parts of the entire state. Average household sale out here is, $2 million. So that being said, it also is vacation zone. A lot of people come here. There's a lot of vacationers that come out here. And all along this coastline, I'll bring you up to the P-Town area, same thing. All these areas, P-Town, oh my God, very violent. But no, it's really not. It is not terribly violent. What happens is, summertime, you have assaults at bars, people get into fights, police get called. So what I want to do is go over just these spots in general and to tell you like what areas are safe and what are not. I'm going to tell you this starting out. There are very few spots on Cape Cod that aren't safe, but one I'm going to point out particularly, and this has zero that has to do with people who live there. I live actually very close to it. I mean, a literal 5-minute drive. But one of the areas you'll see here in Barnstable, in Hyannis, is this area right here. So this kind of area, again, all in Main Street, this area. So this can be known as a tough area. Not trying to scare anyone away, but with that, there's a lot of activity in here. Now, provided it shows red, but you got to remember, it's still under the state average. It still is less than what is in the state and national average. And again, these are a lot of businesses. There's this whole area, this Barnstable, Hyannis area, that's a central hub for business. You have the Hyannis Main Street. You have just a lot going on in this area. Remember that. And then right here, so you're going to see, you go, oh, geez, that's orange. Well, this is where the Kennedy compound is. Very, very wealthy area of Cape Cod. I'm going to go, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. I'm going to pull out away again here. And I'm going to bring us over to, come on in. So Osterville. So you see this, like, this is where I live. I can tell you right now, it's not a violent area, but Craigville Beach, it's a beach. People drink at the beach and stuff happens. Again, Osterville, even though you see there's a little bit of yellow, it's one of the most expensive areas, if not the most expensive area on Cape Cod to live. It's one of those things that it's truly not terribly violent, although you have to report every time somebody pushes somebody, then calls the police. That's what it is. But got to remember, it's vacation land. I wish that I could find a map that didn't include June, July, and August, because this would probably all be green. Same thing, Falmouth here, beautiful area. Sorry, technical difficulties there. So on this here, I'm going to show you. So Falmouth, great area to live. Woods Hole, beautiful. West Falmouth, North Falmouth, wonderful, beautiful properties out here. Same thing all through this area. It's not a bad spot. Someone commented, they lived in Dennisport, and they said that they wouldn't recommend it for a single female. I can't attest to that. I've never lived in Dennisport, but I do know that it's really not that bad. I mean, Dennisport is kind of like this area right here. It is red, it is orange. But again, Dennis is, I think, one of the better towns on Cape Cod. It's one of the most affordable. Yarmouth and Dennis tend to be the most affordable towns on Cape Cod. But again, it's not a bad spot to be. I would imagine that where you are, and of course I can't tell you as far as a single female goes, but it might be a thought to consider that if you are a single female, maybe you don't want to live there. Chatham, again, one of the most expensive spots on Cape Cod. You're going to notice that a lot of the areas that are red and orange are areas that have part-time residents, or the most part-time resident. I know it's not loading right now. P-Town, all the way up the arm of the Cape here. A lot of these coastal areas have a lot of part-time residents. Chatham, all these areas are a lot of cottages and part-time residents. A lot of huge houses out here that are part-time residents. All the stuff you see in the middle here, I mean, to an extent, there's a lot of full-time residents. And there's a lot of full-time residents that live, obviously, on every part. But it's just something that you need to consider, that you got to remember it's vacation land. So I would say Cape Cod overall is a very safe place to live. There are a few places that, are a little bit rougher than others. Again, like I said, that Bierce's Way, Hyannis spot, a little bit of East Falmouth there, some parts of Dennisport, those are, but again, they're not bad per se. They're not tough places. I would say that a lot of the safest areas, and I'll tell you where I live. I live right here on the lake, a little bit farther away from the lake. I'm on the lake, but I'm near the lake, Lake Wequaquet here. Some of the safest areas to live on Cape Cod are going to be kind of exactly what you see here in the green. Sandwich overall is a very safe town to live in. So Sandwich runs all the way down through here, which is called Forestdale, up to here, which this is Sandy Neck, that's West Barnstable. But all this area is a very safe area to live, even though it does show some orange and reds in there. Same thing. Falmouth, the entire area of Falmouth, again, these are very affluent areas down in the coastline here. Very safe places to live. You're going to look at all these kind of center areas here. I mean, a lot of them, they are very safe areas to live. And again, you got to remember, there is that element of that part-time residency. Even these towns that kind of show these, orange and reds, these are very safe spots, very, very safe spots. And what they're showing is that they actually have, so these areas out here between kind of East Ham and P-Town, they have a very small full-time population. I shouldn't say very small, but I think Truro has the smallest population, full-time population of, and I think they are maybe 3,000 to 4,000 people, maybe 5,000 people year round. And don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But again, they like triple, quadruple in the summertime, and that's when it happens. So you just got to keep that in mind, So again, I wish we could find a map that just showed, the rest of the year without June, July, and August, because I'm pretty sure all of Cape Cod would be pretty green. Maybe a little bit in this, Hyannis area, because that, again, Hyannis is the central hub of Cape Cod. Like, that's where the mall is. That's where all the big businesses are. That's where the Main Street is. Hyannis Main Street. There's Main Streets all over the place. But that's one thing that you need to consider when buying here on Cape Cod. Again, I'm showing you Osterville here, which right here, which is probably the most expensive part of Cape Cod. And it still has some little orange in there. Same thing, Chatham, one of the most expensive parts of Cape Cod. It's completely red. That it does, and this is what blew my mind when I saw this. I was like, Chatham, bright red. Oh my God! But you gotta remember, this is the most expensive spot on Cape Cod. This and this. Again, and then here, these are all wonderful areas as well. So just things to consider, when you're buying on Cape Cod. A lot of the vacation areas are going to have a lot more activity when you have that kind of vacation zone. So you got to live close to the beach. You got to remember that. So the reason why this is all green in here is because this whole strip has 0 homes in it. This does down here a little bit, but this whole area has 0 homes in it. I think there's like 4 or 5 cottages out here that they're enough said about that. But again, you have to really remember, if you want to live in a coastal community, you're going to have tourists or people who are part-time residents that are going to come down. They like to drink on vacation. So that's really it. So just remember that, again, Cape Cod is a beautiful spot. You can't go by these maps truly, because again, Chatham, Osterville, these are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful areas. Actually, the most desirable areas on Cape Cod. So if you have any questions about buying on Cape Cod, don't forget to reach out to me. John Dellel is 508-241-4100. Send me a message. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. I'm there. So you can get a lot more on Instagram and Facebook. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.